Hello, my Teacher King family. Let me get my coffee. I'll be right with you. Okay, sorry about that. Had to check my email. The guy who bets for me had a few bets. I wanted to make sure we had them all. Okay, so there was 4 games yesterday. And let's just review. So Wisconsin beats Purdue 38-17. Okay, I didn't play that one. NC State 24-21. Didn't play that one. Virginia put up 21. So, see, this is why you kind of watch these games. I didn't really love NC State. Virginia's a bad team. So that's what you get because NC State doesn't score a lot. Air Force, that's the one game I liked. I didn't play it. I got 2.5, 45-20. Air Force, you just can't stop them. And then the late game, Boise 31 and San Diego State 34-31. And the over-under was 45. So I like the under because San Diego State is a good defensive team that doesn't score, but there you go. So you think you played under, but this is why I didn't play it. Boise, I wonder if they switch quarterbacks because Boise hasn't been scoring. So you go into here and you see the score and then you click on it and you get the detail. And now you can see, well, what the fuck happened? Where did 34-31 come from? And I look at the quarterbacks. And Green's their normal quarterback was 12 of 22, 462 yards and a touchdown. Nothing. That's Boise's. Maiden San Diego State was 16 of 22 with 1 touchdown. Wait a minute. We got 21 points in the fourth quarter, but it wasn't from the quarterbacks, or was it? Boise's Gentry. Okay, so here's what happened. Boise can't throw, but Gentry, the running back, rushed 23 times, 205 yards. And so you're right. I wrote a note, strong running back, because now I got to play Boise not for their quarterback, but for the running back, and it's not a running quarterback. So Gentry gets 205 yards, 2 touchdowns. Then I see here San Diego State, this Armstead, 10 rushes for 35 yards and 2 touchdowns. Maiden, their quarterback, rushes 16 times for 85 yards. So San Diego State switched to this dual threat Lamar type. And it doesn't look like he's 16 of 22 for 241. And then he ran for 16. So now they're scoring more. So now is San Diego State an under team? And you don't think so. And if we look at the scoring, touchdown pass, field goal, rush for 58-yard touchdown, 2-yard touchdown, field goal, passing touchdown by Boise. Then we get into the fourth quarter. Armstead rushed for 10-yard touchdown. G-Tree, 6-yard touchdown. Maiden rushed for 10-yard touchdown. So, they're down and they're still running the ball. So you got to keep your eye on it. Is this the same? Did they switch quarterbacks? That's what happens in college, where you got to keep your eye on it. All of a sudden, the team that sucks switches quarterbacks. You don't know. You're totally blindsided. That's why I stick more with the, like Colorado, primetime is not switching quarterbacks. Oregon's not. Washington's not. Alabama has switched. I don't know who their quarterback is today. But let's go through the line. Now, we're still waiting. I don't think Rising's playing today because the last line I saw last night was Utah 3 over UCLA. So if that's the line and he's not playing, that makes Utah an under team. UCLA played Coastal Carolina low scoring, but so did Georgia State. So is UCLA, they look like a low scoring. They're an A. They don't give up a lot, but they haven't played a Utah. In a Utah with Rising. So I looked at the history, and Rising in Utah, UCLA is always a high scoring game the last 5 years. Utah always wins the game. So we're trying to get to it. So let's walk through the line. Okay, we got Syracuse 13.5 and 50.5. The line hasn't moved. I kind of like Army there, getting the points or over. Syracuse has been lighting it up, but they haven't played anybody. This will be the best team they played. Army is Army. They beat UTSA, which was a good team, but Frank Harris has been out. Marshall, 5.5, 41.5, hasn't moved. Florida State, 1.5, down from 2.5 a day or two ago, 55.5. So this is really, we think Florida State's the better team, but they're a road favorite, which we don't like. We would have loved them being the dog. So how do we determine a regular pick from a lock from playing the game at all is the point spread. So we look at it, and if Clemson was a 3-point favorite, we'd be all over Florida State in 9. The way they handled LSU, they're the real deal. They got the good quarterback, good running, good defense, good coach, perfect team. Definitely a top 5 team. So with that said, now they're laying 1.5. Clemson, we know, we don't love the quarterback. The coach doesn't know what he's doing. They got Shipley, the running back's it. The defense normally is fairly good. Duke pounded them 28-7. I would expect a similar score. Hey, the real D. I would expect the same type of score. I expect Florida State to win the game, but I don't like them as a 1.5. Now, if they were like I said, if they were getting 3, this would be a lock. And that's how you get the lock. You analyze it, goes, this is even, take the dog. I don't want to take Clemson in 7.5. They got killed by Duke. So this is the thing. Now, if I look at the first line, it's Clemson -3. That's why I bet these games as soon as I can, because if I got Clemson -3, I get Florida State 9. Like I said, it's a lock. But I don't see it at Clemson -3, so I don't bet it. If you're at the Venetian in Vegas, they post a college game Sunday. So while everybody's watching the pros, you can be in the Venetian looking at next week's college games and get these sweet lines and make your bet Sunday. So you should always look ahead if you're going to be at the Venetian or in Vegas. You don't have to stay at the Venetian. Always, like, during the game Saturday, write down your next week's games and look at them, and then they'll give you the lines, and mostly the over-unders are beautiful. They're 5-6 points different in our favor, right? The over team will be 5 points lower. The under team will be 5 points higher, and then they start going down. Florida State scared me with the BC game. Well, yeah, did BC change quarterbacks? Keep in mind, this is an emotional game. Some weeks you're not going to care, right? They're playing BC, and they're like, oh, we don't care. We'll win with the third string. And there's turnovers and breaks and different emotion, but they got the win. And a lot of times when a team gets scared, they do get They do play harder. Like I said, this is a game I would prefer Florida State to be the dog because they're on the road. It's hard to be a road favorite. When they played LSU, it was a neutral site, so that was okay. Here, they're at Clemson. It's not easy to win at Clemson. I think Duke did. No, Duke was at home, and they were very emotional in the game, 28-7. So I've been riding Duke ever since. See, that's the type of game. They beat Clemson, they now have confidence, and then you just keep rolling with them. But how good is Clemson? We know Florida State's an outstanding team, but it's going to be emotional. Clemson's a home dog. This is what scares me on this game. So then I go, well, maybe it's an over-under, and I got 55, and I don't know what to do. Probably I would think it's an over, but it's not like it's not the same over as the Notre Dame-Ohio State game that I gave you. That's two strong offenses. We're not sure the defenses, but two strong offenses. Ohio State can't stop Hartman, and I don't think Notre Dame can stop Ohio State's receivers. So I think that's why I think you're looking at a lot of points, but this is different. I don't know what Clemson's offense is. I got them both as A's with under defense, but Clemson loses to Duke 28-7. I'm not going to bet a team that scores 7 on Duke and go over with them against Florida State. So I don't know. I'm going to watch that game and enjoy it. I'm not going to bet on it. I guess if I were to bet, I'd probably take Florida State in 4.5. They're the better team, but on the road. But as I tell Bobby, there's better games to pick. So that's I'm going to other avenues where the games are much easier. All right, Michigan 24-44. Where's Michigan? All right, 24-44, down from 45. This looks like a real good under, but the 24 hasn't moved. Rutgers with the good defense. Michigan, the good defense. Who cares if Harbaugh's back? He's been coaching anyway, so I don't see that as a big factor. So this, I think, should be a low-scoring game. The total is 44, is saying it is. We'll see. Oklahoma, 13.5, 57.5. Really, well, it's gone down from 60 to 57. And the 13.5 stayed the same. I think Oklahoma's got a killer defense this year. They've only been up 8 or 9 points a game. They haven't played anybody. So Cincinnati, not that strong. I think they beat Pitt, and then I think they had a real tough time last week. What did Cincinnati do last week? Yeah, they lost to Miami of Ohio. So to your point, Real D, here's Cincinnati. Now, they're not the same Cincinnati because the coach went to Wisconsin, but they beat Pitt, and then here they lose to Miami of Ohio, who Miami of Florida beat by 40 points. So you now wonder, how bad is Cincinnati? Now, they'll be very emotional. They're a home dog to Oklahoma. But I don't think they're going to do much against. I think Oklahoma's got a real strong defense, and we'll really get a good view of it. The SMU game, 28-11, really that's what you read out of it. Maybe SMU's got a real strong defense because they held Oklahoma to 28 also. But again, we got to see more of it. And that's why these first few weeks, you've got to wipe out last year's team and you focus on this year unless it's, you pretty much know what you're getting with Georgia, Washington, the quarterbacks who come back for USC, Oregon, Washington. We know what we have. So we can use last year. But some of these, like Oklahoma, I think they've changed, and I think they've got a strong defense. So we've got to see if they shut out Cincinnati, then, look out because they got the offense with Gabriel. Road 14, they should really beat them by 30. But again, we will see. Kentucky 13.5, 49.5, hasn't moved. TCU 6.5, 63.5, hasn't moved. Northern Illinois 3.5, 54.5. Really, the total went from 53 to 54, but otherwise it's been 3.5. Troy 3.5, 57.5 over Western Kentucky. So this has gone from 56 to 57. I think it was. Troy. This should be a high-scoring game. Western Kentucky's an over team. Troy's an over team. And yes, Western Kentucky got crushed by Ohio State last week. And I think they were when you lose like you did, 63 to 10, you're embarrassed. So I think Western Kentucky plays pretty well here. Troy, again, there shouldn't be a lot of defense, and the 57 is a cheap total for these two type of teams. A&M 9.5, 51.5. Up from 7.5. Big move here, 51.5. So money on A&M against Auburn. We don't know. Auburn switch coaches have been playing okay. A&M has the good offense now with Bobby Petrino. Put up a lot of points on Miami, but Miami put up even more on them. So we'll see. This is a judge game on how good's Auburn. We got an idea how good A&M is from the Miami game, which gives us a really good idea on Miami. Van Dyke is back, and I'm very happy. Toledo, 21.5, up from 20, and 53.5, same. Western's a Z team. Toledo is the A team. Yeah, I like Toledo here. This is what you're looking for, a strong offense at home playing the Z team. And Western's really pathetic. So this is the key. How you really handicap is you want to bet against the defense. So when I get Toledo here going against the weak defense with a good quarterback, and again, they lost to Illinois 30 to 28. They put up 28 on Illinois, although their defense isn't as strong as last year's. You can put up 28 on Illinois. At Illinois, you should be able to really put up a lot of numbers against Western because Western's a Z and they don't have an offense. Their quarterback sucks. I looked at quarterbacks last night. This is my Friday night activity. I'm looking at the quarterbacks and the teams, but I'm trying to make us money. So here I got Toledo. I think they win very easily here because Western's a Z team and Toledo's got a pretty good defense. I don't know, maybe. I don't want to bet the over. So in this game, I think it's all Toledo, and therefore I'll lay the 21 down to 15, figuring they win by mid-20s. If I had to put a score in, I'd say 35-3 or something like that. So they won't get over because Western's not going to help them. This is not a game you play the over-under on. You play it more on the Western Kentucky. Both teams have good offenses and no defenses. So both teams will score, which is what you want in an over. You can't get an over like Oklahoma, Cincinnati. If Cincinnati doesn't score, you can't go over in the game. Actually, I'd probably like the game under, and it has gone down from 60 to 57. But that's where you're like, wait, both teams have pretty strong defenses. And, so why would I bet over on that? This is more of an under if Oklahoma's defense is real, which we don't know yet. All right. We got Georgia Southern, 6.5, 60.5. Where are they? There they are. Really hasn't moved against Ball State. Georgia Southern strong. Georgia State looked really good Thursday night. Ball State's weak, no defense. Georgia Southern, again, the game's at Ball State. They're Georgia, so it's a road favorite. But I think Georgia Southern's a good pick here. Here's my Miami 23.5 over Temple. The over/under went from 51 to 46. I don't understand that. That's a big drop. Now Miami, is explosive from the A&M game. Temple is an under team. They don't score. So with all that being said, I think Miami puts up their 35 and Temple doesn't score at all is what this is saying. So let me just highlight my picks today. Liberty. Dookie. So I got about 15 plays today, and they're posted and bet. As we get further data and I can analyze them, I get more picks. I start analyzing the games. In the beginning, I don't know, right? Who knows how good Team A is, Oklahoma, whatever. As I start seeing the games, then I get a better idea of who the team really is. Like yesterday, Boise 34, San Diego State 31. You never score that on San Diego State. They never play over. So I'm still learning San Diego State. UCLA beat them 33-7 or something like that. So you're still learning it on those teams. I already know Washington and Oregon. Colorado, I had to watch a few games, and we've kind of learned them. But I have a good idea Washington State and Oregon State. Arizona's good. Stanford, so it's trying. So as they play more games against good teams like Arizona, Stanford, then you get a better feel of, okay, this is who Arizona is, who should be high scoring, and this is Stanford. Are they a Z team? Now, when you get your Z teams and your A teams, now they are more meaningful, and then you can really hammer them. So you go to the different games, and you're like, boom, oh yeah, this is it, this is it, this is it. So that's why. Two reasons why I am very successful every year is because I blanked the slate from last year. So they're filling in the slate, but I have my method. I'm betting the A's, I'm betting against the Z's. Who are the A's and who are the Z's? And they change every year. That's why I'm so successful, because I can figure out who the team is. Same thing in the NFL, although it's usually Kansas City and Cincinnati, and we're betting against the Lions every year. It's pretty much, it's a lot, and they don't have the Division II games where you got to throw out the stats. It's all pro against pro. Well, I don't know if Carolina, Detroit, and Houston are pro teams or not. But that's how you do it. And then you just go after. So people say, who's your favorite team? And I go, well, I don't. Whoever is hot this year. I mean, right now it's maybe it's Colorado with Prime, or maybe it's Duke this year. Miami's back. Hartman, Notre Dame this year. I've never been a Notre Dame fan. I had USC against Notre Dame in '74. I'm a Notre Dame fan this year. Fuck yeah, with Hartman, I'm a Notre Dame fan. Making money with them. It's all about making the money. Who's going to make me the money? And that's why it's a blank slate. That's why you just keep it. You just open-minded. You cannot be emotional. Bobby keeps playing with LSU. I mean, it's like, but there's a time to play him and a time to not. He's got to learn that. All right. So Texas Tech, 5.5, 54.5. This is down a lot. This was 7, down to 5.5 against West Virginia. This is another one. They're a road favorite. Texas Tech lost at Wyoming. I would be scared to death to take Tech here. West Virginia plays much better at home. in the Big 12. It's the strangest thing because it's all Texas and West Virginia. But when they go to West Virginia, they usually play very well. And when they have to travel to Texas, they usually play pretty poorly, especially against Oklahoma. They got killed by them all the time. UMass 3.5 and 4. Where are they? 3.5, 49.5. I don't know how anybody can bet UMass as the favorite. New Mexico is pretty bad. Both teams I have is over. I wouldn't touch this with the 10-foot ball. Here you have no real information, and they're very bad teams. Mexico State, we had as the dog to New Mexico. That made sense because we like New Mexico State. Good quarterback, but this game I have no idea. And I can find a lot better. Louisville, 13.5, 54. Hasn't changed. Duke, 22.5, 44.5. Up from 21. And the over went down. It was 47, is now 44. So Connecticut, pretty weak team, not much defense. Duke, they're still riding that Clemson win, and they've won the last 3 games by 20 points. Like first time in school history. I saw that little thing. So, yeah, Dukes, they got Riley Leonard. They got good running. They have a good defense. This is a good team, but it ain't named Alabama, so you're only laying 22 where you should be laying 32 against UConn. BYU, Kansas, this game's been 9.5, is now 8.5. And learning the teams in 56 up from 55. So what have I learned? BYU goes to Arkansas, wins. I watched the highlights. I love Slovis, the quarterback. Went to the Kurt Warner camp. I remember that. He was at USC. He was pretty good. Played as a freshman. And then I don't know what happened. Then he went to some other pit or somewhere. And then now he's at BYU. They look very good defensively and offensively. Kansas, I don't know. They barely won last week against fucking Nevada. So they're giving up 28 to Nevada. So this is a team without defense. Statistically, they're an A team, but when you watch them, they're still probably an over team. But I like BYU, very live dog here. Hey, G, do you look at reverse line movements too to factor in your decisions? What's a reverse line movement? I mean, so here the line, Kansas was 9.5 down to 8.5. So what am I looking at? I don't know what that means, reverse line movement, but it's where did the line move to? So in this case, the line moved to BYU. I don't really care that where the money moves because I don't bet a game because the line moves up or the line moves down. I bet it independently. So I look at the game. I go BYU's an A team, won at Arkansas. Kansas barely beat Nevada. I like BYU as the dog. So I don't care where the line, but because I'm getting 8.5, 9.5 points in a teaser, I'm getting 14.5. That's what I look at. I would never bet Kansas here. I'm not sure they can beat BYU after BYU beating a good Arkansas team. So, yeah, I don't know what the reverse line movement is. So I don't understand your question. The line moves. It either goes up or down. So I don't know what a reverse is. Illinois, 15.5, 45.5. Up from 14. Illinois, 15.5, 45.5. So it was 14.47, 15.45. Florida Atlantic's quarterback's out. That's what it is. So those are the notes I take, quarterbacks being out. Then I go to the quarterback page and I go, who's their backup? And I didn't see one. So they got quarterback out. Illinois is not really that strong this year. Their defense, now I see a lot of linebacker injuries. Maybe their defense would have been good, but there's 2 or 3 linebackers that are out. But I don't know if they're starters or not. I mean, you really got to go to the guide to see who should be their starters. I mean, I did that with Washington State. They got 2 defensive ends that are out. now they got stud defensive ends, pro defensive ends, first round picks, but it wasn't them. So I'm like, okay, it can take Washington State. So it's really misleading when they put an injury in. They should highlight it if it's a starter instead of leaving it that, I got to do the work that they should be doing. Okay, you answered it. Oh, okay. Thank you, G. Good luck today, G. So Florida Atlantic quarterback's out. The line moves on Illinois, who's been scoring. They're at home. Yeah, I mean, it's probably, I don't know, probably an under game, but because Florida Atlantic, but who's their quarterback going to be? And this is the problem in college. It could be some guy, and it could be Van Dyke that was sitting on the bench. That's how he got in. He was sitting on the bench, and De'Aaron King got hurt, and he comes in and lights it up, like Quentin Flowers, like Rising. These guys are sitting on the fucking bench. These coaches are fucking idiots. So we will see. Okay, here we go. Utah, 3.5, 51.5. Tells me Cam Rising is not playing. So we can let's quickly check the injuries. But I think we already know our answer, because if he was playing, it'd be 6 or 7. Now, the problem with this is they really don't, is this updated as of today? And we're going to check here, and then I'm going to check in the game. So let's go to Utah. All right, Cam Rising, questionable with the knee, Monday, September 18th. So that's pretty useless. So let's go back to... Let's go to the matchup. But has this been updated? So really the only way is to probably Google, is Cam Rising playing? So when I go to here, so I'm going in injuries. So there's both teams. Cam Rising has been held out the past, so nothing's changed here as of 9/18. So I have no idea. I can only go by the line. If Cam Rising was playing, I think Utah would be a 6-point favorite. That's what they started at. So now let's analyze the game without Rising. How come you only play teasers? I've always wondered why you never play with their spread lines. Because I have such an advantage of picking 75, 80% with the teaser. I know which way to play the teaser. So in other words, okay, Notre Dame, Ohio State, your free pick. I analyzed the game, and what do we got? We got, at the time it was 53 was the total, and 3.5 Ohio State favored. So I looked at it. It gives me a much better chance of winning because I know how to use the 6 points. So if I just took 53 and I said, let's go over, I'm expecting at least a 60, 65-point game today. If it did that and I win. It's when I don't play the teaser and I would have won and I didn't, that I really have a hard time with, because I know the teaser. So an example, I was a kid. My brother was going to Michigan. It was 1974 or 75. It was 1975, and the Michigan-Ohio State game. Michigan's getting 6 points. I don't tease them. Ohio State scores at the end of the game. It's tied 14-14. Michigan has to win to go to the Rose Bowl. Rick Leach throws in an interception. Ohio State's got the ball to 2. They go in and win 21-14. I lose because I have 6 because I didn't tease it. And that was the last time that I said I am not teasing it. I do not, for me, in my mindset, I can't handle that. That's not, I had an easy winner plus 12, but I said, oh, I got 6 points. That's plenty. I'll take the 6. And I turned into a loser by not teasing it. I just feel that the way I study it, I have a much better understanding with the tease, which way to move the 6 points. I'm gonna bet because of my skill, I'm gonna find 10 games. So I could play 10 games straight. And before I think my dad told me about teasers, it's probably 13, 14. So, there's teasers. And I picked the games without the points, and I was very good at it. And once the teasers hit and I started to figure them out, uh, it's like the tough games, right? Look at the playoff game last year, KC Cincinnati. How would you have picked that game with KC's 3-point favorite over Cincy? It was 2 or 3. I mean, it would have been an extremely difficult one to pick. But getting Cincinnati in 9 was a fucking joke, right? And they lose 23-20. But because I have Cincinnati in 9 and Joe Burrow in 9, and he's playing well and not injured at the time, I can have more confidence and bet more money and make more money on it. And they go ahead and I won the bet that I would have pushed had I just taken the 3. So it's a lot of those close games. I get over the touchdown. I turn tough games into easy games, and then I can bet more on the game knowing that. And, and the over-unders too. Georgia under. I mean, just give me the extra 6 points. I don't care. So that's really why I do it, because I can find areas where the 6 points is huge and it allows me to bet more and allows me to win more. So it's basically, I think the bottom line is because I can win a lot with the teaser because I know how to play the teaser. Like I play Ohio State Notre Dame over, I've got in more than one teaser. Because with the extra points, I've only got to go over 47? I think it's 47. That should not be a difficult thing. In theory today, I'm thinking this will be a high scoring game. So I can play him in 2 teasers because I feel very confident with the extra 6 points. I'm getting a good number. So that's probably the biggest reason. It allows me to win a lot more. My brother always used to get on me for saying, well, you didn't need the 6, you didn't need the 6, you didn't need the 6. So let's say it's a 70-point Notre Dame Ohio State game, right? It's 38-35. He'll come to me after the game, you didn't need the teaser. And I come to him going, yeah, but I got to bet the game now. I can't bet it after. I can't be Madoff and bet the game after. I got to bet the game now. So that's really, it helps the bet. It allows me to make bigger bets with a lot more confidence and win a lot more than without the teaser. But I know how to play the 6 points. That's all I do is analyze that. All my trends are in the 6 points. And when I'm looking at the game, I'm looking at using the 6 points. I see Georgia under. Well, let's knock them to 60. Now, I don't usually need the 6 points in Georgia unders, but it's nice to have. It's an extra touchdown. Like last week, I had Georgia under. That was the lock, and with Iowa State. And it was under 16. The game was 24-14. And you could have yelled at me, well, you didn't need the teaser. And I would have said, you're right. But at the end of the day, it made the bet easier. And we won. And we had Georgia in a couple of teasers, which we won. So that's really that's the idea, is the best way to win. And that's why I do it. No, I don't. I study my strategy. Wong's strategy, he's going under 3 and over 7. I don't think he invented that. I mean, I've been doing that since 1977. But I don't bet a game because I analyze the game first. Okay. If it's a game I like, then I'll go over 7 or I'll go under 3. But if it's not a game worth betting, I don't bet it because of the line. I bet it because of the team. So if we look Monday night, the Rams in Cincinnati and the game's 3, I'll take the Rams in 9, not because it's a 3, because Burrow's injured and Stafford's playing and the Rams look pretty good. I think with the 9, they're a good bet. With the 3, they're not. But I do everything on my own. I don't look at anybody's strategy. I don't look at anybody's strategy with gold. It's all mine. I learned it in my master's program, and basically this is why this is a master's class, because I'm teaching you how to bet football at a master's level, and I'm teaching you gold and economics at what I learned in my master's class. So you're getting a master's education here, and you're being taught it. I'm trying to teach it to you. So that's kind of what it is, but I don't pay any attention. I don't pay any attention to Peter Schiff or any of these idiots. And when I show you Egon or Alligator, all they're doing is confirming what I said. It's not, I didn't like see it and go, oh, I go, yeah, that's exactly what I've been saying. So that's what I do. So no, I don't rely on anybody else, because that's how you get in trouble. That's how you get Madoff, right? Well, Madoff said, well, just shut up and the money comes in and nobody questions him. I heard of Madoff, I think, I was still married at the time. My brother-in-law said, oh, I got this investment. I'm making 15% when interest rates were 3 or 4. I says, that's impossible. Yeah, I own like a strip mall or something, with some rental property. And he was getting this big return. And I says, it's a scam, because you can't get a big, you can only do what the market allows. And so when he said that, I didn't want anything to do with it. Thank you, but no, thank you. That's why when people ask me how much money did I lose in the 2000 crash, the 2000 stock market crash, I says I made money. I didn't lose money. I could see what's happening and what's coming, because I'm not listening to anybody. I'm doing it on my own. When you do it on your own, you don't get fucked. You listen to people. Oh, wait, Wayne said if it's this, if I can get it under 3 to bet it. Yeah, well, what if it's a shitty team? I mean, okay, so you're going to bet the UMass New Mexico game. He'll bet New Mexico because you get 9. Fuck that. I wouldn't touch that with the 10 football. Anyway, thanks. Just wanted to learn more about your passion for teasers. The way you break down the games is fun and understandable. Well, that's the most important thing I do. And I learned that from my daughter's softball. I'm teaching first, second, third graders as she was moving up how to hit, field, throw. What do you do in the game? You run from first to second to third, watch the third base coach. So I was doing all that, and I realized that the key is to what you're doing is the audience must understand you if you're going to teach, because the kids wouldn't. And I could see when they got it in his eyes, and when they did it in his eyes. So at that point, I would then go from there. So basically, if the kid didn't get it, I had to figure out a way to teach the kid to get it. So that's what I did. All right. What the fuck's, who's pounding my phone? Yeah, good luck. All right, so we're at the Utah game. We assume with the line at 3, Rising's not playing. And 51.5. Okay, so we could do the BD Wong thing and say we'll take the 9. How I look at the game's 100% differently, but that's okay. So how do we break it down? What we have now is Utah's an under team. Their quarterbacks are not very good, and they have a killer defense, and they got a smart coach. So he's going to run the ball. He'll have that running quarterback in. I'm not sure. UCLA looks like a very good defensive team. They played a 33-7 game against San Diego State. They played Coastal Carolina, barely scored with McCall. We know how good he is. But they haven't really played USC, Washington, Oregon, the strong team. I think this has got to be an under game, because you've got this game's at 3:30. You've got this strong Utah defense without a quarterback makes them an under team because they're not going to score a lot. So if we were to visualize the score, I don't know how much UCLA is going to put up on Utah. And I know Utah is not going to score a lot on UCLA. This is a very big game. They're both in the same division. This is to win the Pac-10, and they both get USC. So, again, Rising's not out. He's not playing. It's a whole different team. Rising playing, it would be still a difficult game to choose. But with Rising out, this turns Utah into an under. UCLA's an A team by the stats. They look good. They've switched quarterbacks. The quarterback's got like 8 touchdowns and 1 interception. But he's a freshman out of Detroit, one of these fast kids. However, this is his first. Okay, this is a big game at Utah. He's going to choke a little bit. So I think this is an underplay. I think it's like 24-20 or something. Maybe you can take UCLA or 9, but again, I'm betting defense first, and that's Utah. They got a Georgia defense, so this should be a very low-scoring game. UCLA, however, could win, but they don't have Thompson Robinson. So because you switch quarterbacks, you must be careful there. So the best way is to bet this game under, I think, because I don't see Rising. All right, we got Oregon 21-70.5. Goodbye to prime time. They're going to get killed in this game. Ohio 12.5, 44.5. Where's Ohio? Where did they go? I hate when they jump around with the time. Ohio. Okay. See, they're on the other page. Ohio, 12.5, 44.5. The under went from 46 to 44.5. The spread hasn't moved. Should be a low-scoring game. Ohio, we locked it with Iowa State because Ohio doesn't do anything. They actually beat Iowa State 10-7, which we love because our lock under last week was Iowa State. So they're a very low-scoring team with a decent defense. Bowling Green has no offense with a decent defense. This game probably won't even hit the 30s, so this is a very good underplay. Maryland, 7.5, 52.5 to Michigan State. Line hasn't moved. Michigan State's in disarray. Their coach has been fired, and they're not a very good team anyway. Maryland, I don't know. I don't like Tagliabue. Too many interceptions, and they're on the road, and I don't trust Maryland as a road favorite. However, Michigan State's absolutely terrible. And wins -1. Now, here you go, G. Here's a perfect example. Do I trust Maryland -7.5, actually? Do I trust this? Absolutely not. The only way I would bet this game and bet Maryland is at 1.5. Okay, they just have to win. That's what the teaser's for, right? I would never lay 7.5 with Maryland on the road, but I know Maryland, and I know this is a choke team. That's why you do the teaser. Because now at 1.5, the odds of me winning this are huge. 7.5, the odds of me winning it are very slim, at least at this point. What was the over-under for Ohio Notre Dame game? Well, it started at 53, went to 54, so 55 makes sense. I still think people watch the video, get the free pick, and bet it, because every time I put out a game like this, the line always moves, against us, right? It always goes with us. So if I get the over, the line went from 53 to 55.5. So somebody up there is watching me. Anyway, 54, 55. You're laying 49.5. That's good. And the score should be like 37-35 is my score. That's a 72. So I don't care about 49.5. You're fine. But that's why you pick the score, because you've got to look at the score first. Then you add the point spreads. Hey, Alex, how are you? If you want to play a big teaser today, I got 15 games we can play. So you've got to put the score in first. Then you look at the line. And when you see a bad line, then that's when you bet it, right? So try to figure the score out. So that's why you analyze, what type of team it is. So like an Ohio Bowling Green game, you figure it's going to be a 35-point game. Oregon, Colorado, you think it's going to be a 90-point game. So then you look at the totals and then you bet it accordingly. Nebraska, 20.5, 45.5. Where's Nebraska? Where the fuck's Nebraska? They keep changing the times on me. Come on, where's Nebraska? Where did they go? Okay. So Nebraska was initially early, so they must be like a 3:30 game. So then they move it per time here instead of leaving it alone. 20.5, 45.5. It's gone down from 47 to 45.5. L-Tech over team. Nebraska, Heinrich Himmler's their quarterback. As far as I know, Sims is still injured. It's the best thing that happened to Nebraska. I have no idea with this team. They're an under team as far as I know. L-Tech scores. I don't know how Nebraska can beat anybody by 20, but they did last week. So I'm just letting this game alone. I don't have a clue. Alabama 7, 55.5 has not moved. I don't know who Alabama's going to have the quarterback. Is it Milrose? We saw the other guy. He ain't going to be the quarterback. The third stringer, I don't know if he's going to use him as the quarterback. I think Ole Miss wins the game straight out. And I just think they're too much for Alabama and Texas A&M. Texas showed you can beat them. They have a weak secondary, and Ole Miss, the coach coached at Alabama as the offensive coordinator for a few years. So unless he quits in the middle of the game like he did at Tennessee and USC, they have a good chance of winning the game. I can't imagine they get blown out. So I really like Ole Miss in 13 here. Okay, I'll do that. LSU over. So Milroe, okay, so we know what we're getting. Bobby Bow, I'm glad you popped in. All right. Here you go, Bobby Bow. Here's a Bobby Bow rookie card. He didn't think I had any. I had the set, so I had to pull it out of the set. I thought I had the Topps one. So everybody, this is the Bobby Bow rookie card. There you go, Bobby Bow. I wouldn't let you down. LSU over. LSU haven't gotten the. Yeah, I like that against Arkansas. For sure. All right, I'll send them shortly. Week 4, here we go, Bobby Bow. 49ers in Wisconsin took care of business. Well, I told you the 49ers score. I said 30-10. They won 30-12. They can't get much better than that. Wisconsin, okay. They're starting to gel with the new coach. The quarterback, Mordecai, ran in 2 touchdowns. So I'm looking at touchdowns. He doesn't throw any. How they scored 38. Oh, he ran 2 in. So he's trying to be a runner too. Purdue, this is a normal Purdue. They play a good defense. They fall apart. Yeah. You thought I didn't have. I got cards coming out of my ears, but see, I frame and put the manels in the safe. Yeah, I looked at that value. A PSA 10 of that's like $60. So you're getting up there. It was a good set. It had a lot of good stars in it. Anyway, so I pulled this other card. So this is also in the set, a Reggie card, right? But Reggie doesn't have much value in that because I got his rookie card in 71 or 72, I think. Keep the car with the gold. Well, let's get the value up, Bobby. You got to go back or you got to coach football. Like, that's what I noticed. The Deion Sanders cards are now all going up in value. He's got baseball. He's got football. I got his score rookie. It's like $1,100 now because he's prime time. So all of a sudden, all his cards are going up. I got them all. So, Bobby, you got to go into coaching. Go, coach Notre Dame. Then all the Bobby Bow cards will go up in value. I saw the second half, and Wisconsin receivers are dropping good passes left and right. Well, that's the problem with them, but I think they're good. Okay, Alex, I will send to you a little bit. Yes, I like LSU over. Like I said, I like Ole Miss. I think beats Alabama today. I'd be surprised. All right, let's go. Tennessee 23.5, 48.5. Over Tennessee. They were 20, so this has jumped quite a bit. I assume Frank Harris is still out. That's why it jumped. Over under went from 56 to 58. Yeah, I like Tennessee off of the loss to Florida. See, now, Bobby, is when you bet Tennessee. You wait for it. They lost to Florida. Now they're at home against UTSA, who Army put up a 40 on. And they're got to be pissed off. They need to win. So, look, now you bet Tennessee off a loss. That's why you wait. You watch the teams off of a loss, and then you pound on them. So here's a very good Tennessee playing UTSA without Frank Harris. They've just looked miserable, although their backup quarterback is not terrible. He's not their reason. Their defense, like Army, lit them up. So I think Tennessee kills them tonight. Rice in South Florida. Look at Rice favored 2.5, 56.5. Line hasn't moved. Now, keep in mind, Rice has Daniels, the quarterback who was at USC, who transferred to Georgia, who got beat out by Stenson Benson, and now he's at Rice. So it's really like a USC quarterback. They're actually playing very good, Rice. South Florida's got to be petered out after the Alabama game. I mean, they lost 17-3. Watch Rice put up 30 on them, and Alabama put up 17. But yeah, I think this is a good one here, Rice. Iowa State 3.5, 35.5 against Oak State. This won't even get to 20. Iowa State plays the low score. Oak State's terrible. Their quarterback stinks. They're running the ball mostly. You can't run it on Iowa State's defense. This will definitely not get too many points. South Alabama 16.5, 47.5 against Central Michigan. This was 15, so it's gone to 16.5, and the over was 51, goes down to 47. South Alabama, yeah, they're a pretty good team. Central, I don't know. They fucked me with Notre Dame last week. Put up 17. They look pretty good offensively. I really think this is an over. I don't know why the line's going down. Central had some good offense. I don't know. It's not a game to bet. Jacksonville State 6.5 to Eastern Michigan. It's 7-50. It's 6.5, 51. It's gone up a point. All I can say is Eastern's an under team and Jacksonville State's a B team. You can figure it out from there. Wake Forest 3.5, 58.5 to playing Georgia Tech. Georgia Tech's pretty explosive. Okay. 3.5, 59, 3.5. The line hasn't moved. Wake Forest is a B team based on the numbers. Again, they beat Vandy by 7. Georgia Tech's playing high-scoring games. Over under a 59. I like this game over just because Georgia Tech. Wake's going to score on them, but Georgia Tech, but I don't know Georgia Tech enough to bet them plus the 9.5. Liberty 9.5, 51.5. Liberty. And it's like the commercial with the emu. 9.5. I wonder if that's their mascot, the emu. 9.5, 51.5. I like Liberty a lot in this game. They're the A team. Florida is the E. Liberty's got the Coastal Carolina coach. Goes to Liberty. They're lighting it up. They're putting up a lot of points here. So Liberty minus 3.5. Again, this is why I like the teaser. At 9.5, I don't like the game. At 3.5, the odds on Liberty covering are much stronger. Now, not that they can't win the 9.5, but I'm not going to bet that much on them. But at 3.5, I can bet Liberty pretty comfortably. And that's really why I do it, G, is to get the bet in. She's asking me, why do I do teasers? And I go, because now when I make the bet, I can bet stronger laying 1.5 or 2.5 than I can at 8 or 9. Southern Miss, 5.5, 47.5, hasn't moved against Arkansas State. Southern Miss is a W, and Arkansas State's the Z team. But I think Southern Miss's quarterback's out, so I don't care about this game. Arizona, 13.5, 58.5. Wow, this game jumped from 10.5 to 13.5. And 58 stayed. So Arizona, very strong team. Love the quarterback, Delora from Washington State. They were a very good over team last year. Now they're a B. Stanford sucks. They're a W. But again, it's Arizona on the road. I can find better. Oregon State, 357.5. At Washington State. Washington State beat Wisconsin at home. You got Uglia Buglia for Oregon State. Good luck with that. I don't trust him. I like Washington State in the 9 here. This is a strong defense. This is a strong home dog. They beat Wisconsin. Oregon State, they're all in love with Uglia Buglia, and I don't know why. We've seen him in big games. He folds. I see him folding here. I think Washington State wins it straight up. So again, G, getting 3 might be a winner. Getting 9 should be a winner, and I can bet more on Washington State plus 9. That's the theory of the teaser. Nevada, Texas State. Who cares? Texas State, 17.5, 59.5. Hasn't moved. Probably an over. Texas State's a very explosive. Nevada was a Z team, but they played pretty well against Kansas, so I'm very confused. But the reason they were Z is they played USC and lost 63-0. So that skews them. But you can't ignore that they played USC. You can ignore the high school game, but you can't ignore USC. So the question is, will Texas State light them up like they did? Hey, Sean, how are you? Let's see. Okay. My books has given me $86 from betting 100 when I put the 2 free picks in. Pretty low win. I think I'll add Tennessee and Rice with it. Okay. Good morning, Sean. Bobby Ball. I was about to ask you about the game as I like Washington State teams. Yeah, all day. I mean, they beat Wisconsin. They got a good quarterback, and they got a great defense. So it should be a low-scoring game. Oregon State, I think, has the defense. Washington, especially at home, they can beat Uglia Buglia. Well, we've seen Uglia Buglia in the big games. We had Clemson, and he never shows up. So why would he all of a sudden show up now? And he showed up. Who did Oregon State beat? They didn't beat anybody. Looks like John Anthony's brother Sean is joined. Well, where's Earl Anthony? Uglia Buglia, yeah. He was great at Clemson. He cost me so much money because Trevor Lawrence would leave the game in the third quarter, and they're up 30-0, and I'm laying 23 with Clemson against nobody. Uglia Buglia comes in, throws 2 picks, gives up points, and now I lose my bet because he can't drive down the field and get a touchdown, and he's giving interceptions to the other team. So yeah, he's not my best friend. Earl Anthony's at the Alabama game. All right. And he's a good bowler, too. Okay. LSU, 17.5, 54.5. Bobby's game. The line hasn't moved. Now, Bobby's got to think because Arkansas cost him money last week, so he's pissed at Arkansas. The way I handled that is I took BYU. I think this is a high-scoring game. I think LSU lights up Arkansas, and I'm giving Jefferson 21 points here. He'll find a way to score, and LSU will – with Kelly, they're a good scoring team. I don't think Arkansas is going to stop them. And it's Saturday night in the swamp or in the what do they call it? Saturday night in the bayou. Saturday night in the bayou. But LSU's more comfortable Saturday night. It's funny how they got to play these noon and 3 o'clock games. It's ridiculous. So they'll be right at home. They're going to light it up here. This should be a high scoring game. Florida, Charlotte. Florida 27.5, 48.5. Down from 58, 27. Florida, Charlotte's terrible, and their quarterback sucks. I was looking at that. Florida, we got Mertz. Maybe he's getting more comfortable. That's the thing with these transfer portal guys. It takes them a while to get the chemistry and timing with the receivers. So they can't walk in and just light it up. That's why I don't really love the transfer portal, except Hartman, who even now he's probably still got ways to go with the Notre Dame receivers, even though he's got 13 touchdowns, no interceptions, and he looks like a stud out there. He's still learning the receivers and the routes, but he looks pretty fucking good. Florida here, they should kill. Now they beat Tennessee, so they got it. They need to win because they still lost to Utah. So Florida will probably kill them in this game. Wyoming, App State. Wyoming 2.5, 44.5. Where is that? All right, this was 344. The line hasn't really moved. 2.5, 44. I like App State. They played North Carolina good. They got a really good quarterback. He's like 10 touchdowns and 1 pick. They're an over team. Wyoming, we saw against Texas Tech. I don't feel Wyoming's going to blow out App State. I think App State can win. This is like last week when I played Jacksonville State. Who did I play? I played James Madison over Troy. This is the exact same game. Troy was 2.5. I took James Madison 8.5. James Madison won 16-14. And it's the same thing here. Wyoming 3 over App State. App State's very good. Just played North Carolina, lost by 7. I don't see them getting blown out by Wyoming, who doesn't blow anybody out. So definitely like App State as a live dog here. Colorado State, Middle Tennessee State. Colorado State. Okay. Middle Tennessee, 3.5, 51.5. Down from 53, 3.5. That stayed. Good luck. Who the hell knows? Colorado State's an over team now, apparently, after the prime game. Are they going to be flat after playing their big rival Colorado? Middle Tennessee, who knows? They played, Georgia or Michigan and got shut out. So all their things are skewed. They're at home. I have no idea. We'll learn more after. The Sam Houston versus Houston game. You can only be called Houston to play in this. 11.5, 37.5. No change. I don't know what Sam Houston is. Their quarterback sucks, but they give up like 3 points. Their average is 1.5 points a game on offense, and they give up like 10 on defense. I assume it's an under. Houston doesn't scare me with their offense. So we'll see. Probably an under game, but it's 38. It's a hard game to go bet under because we don't know any players on Sam Houston. Georgia, 40.5, 54.5. I am surprised this line really hasn't moved. 54.5 has stayed the whole week. Of course, free pick, Georgia under. It's Georgia. It's, if you can get 5 first downs on them, you've had a good game. UAB's an over team, but not here. They're not going to score. Tennessee couldn't score on them. I don't think they can. South Carolina, 6.5, 46.5. Hasn't really moved to Old Mississippi State. South Carolina, they had Georgia for a half, 14-3, but that was all they got. Old Mississippi State, I don't know. They look good, and then LSU kills them, so I got to stay away from this game. Indiana, 16.5 over Akron. Where is this? Is one of these that moved down to the night for the Big Ten Network. That's on my other side. Or are they here? Oh, they're on the second page. Akron's a W. They don't score a lot. No defense. Indy's an under team. 16.5. I don't know. Maybe you bet against Akron. I'm not betting on Indiana. Minnesota, 11.5, 38.5. Against Northwestern. There's only one way. Minnesota, no offense, strong defense. Northwestern doesn't even have a team. Should be a 25-point game. So there you go. Missouri, 6.5, 51.5. At Memphis, I don't know. Memphis is a good team. Missouri beat Kansas State at home on a 90-yard field goal at the end. They're okay. Cook's their quarterback. Seems he's like 6 touchdowns and no picks. Memphis, good team. I don't know. I don't trust Missouri. After this win, they could be flat. Memphis is good. I'm not fucking around with it. Texas and Baylor. Interesting game here. This went from 14 to 16.5. So the money's moving on Texas. 49.5 on the total. Shapen, the quarterback for Baylor, is out, hurt knee, out till October, so that's good. Their backup sucks. Texas, we know, has a really strong defense. They've showed it against Rice, who we thought, but then Rice looked pretty good against another team, against Houston. Then we got Texas. It's a conference game. Baylor's not a bad defensive team because they don't have the quarterback. So this is going to be an Army-Navy type of game. They're going to run the ball, play defense. And Texas has got a very strong defense. I like the quarterback, Ewers, and I'm surprised Manning hasn't made it into the game yet. That's kind of surprising. But, 35-0 here, somewhere around there. So I like the game under. Buffalo and Lou Lafayette. I love Lou Lafayette. Who comes up with that name? Lou Lafayette, 8.5, went to 10.5. So the money's pouring in on Lou Lafayette at 57.5 to the total state. I have no idea. It's probably an over. Buffalo's an over team, and Lou Lafayette is an over team. Both their quarterbacks are good. Snyder is a good quarterback at Buffalo, and Lou Lafayette's got a good quarterback. I think over 58. Yeah. Our free play of the day, Ohio State 3.5, 55.5, up from 53, 3.5. As you know, I love the over in the game. You got Hartman, you've got Ohio State's offense. I don't know that Ohio State has a defense. Notre Dame's got a good defense, but I just see this game being high scoring. Not necessarily 75, but I can certainly see it in the 60s. I certainly see 34-30, 35-30, somewhere in that neighborhood, and we only need to score 48, 49 points. That's going to be no problem. Hartman will light them up. Okay, Hartman's going to light them up. It's Notre Dame. He's got good receivers. He threw the long ball, against Central. When they needed it, he hit 3 long passes. Hartman's the key to this game. He will put up 4 touchdowns. They'll score in the 30s. Ohio State, I don't know after the Indiana game, but they looked better last week. I don't know why Ohio State's favored in this. I like Notre Dame as a home dog. But as I said, this over-under started at 64. So if you're sitting at the Venetian Sunday night at 64, Monday morning, it's now 54. It dropped 10 points. So there's definitely collusion, and JP Morgan's involved with this bullshit. I mean, how's the line started at 64? There's not that much betting in the world that can drive it to 54. So it's a manipulated line. And at 54, I love the over. At 64, I still like the over. But at 54, I liked it a lot better. So this is your free one. Go over in this game. 2 strong offenses. The defenses are there. But again, Notre Dame gave up 17 to Central, and Ohio State hasn't played a good offense. Western Kentucky's pretty good, but now they haven't seen a Notre Dame. At Notre Dame, they're going to be more aggressive. Yeah, this should be high scoring. Iowa, Penn State. I'm going to throw you for your loop here. Alex, it's 11:30. Oh shit, we got noon. Okay, I'll send you the games shortly. Penn State 14.5, 38.5. I like the over in this game. I like the over in the Iowa game. Yes, you've heard me say it. I think this number is too low. This is what you would get Iowa State, Iowa Rutgers, Iowa Northwestern, not Penn State at Penn State. Iowa's been scoring. They got 20 on Iowa State. They put up 41 last week. They're scoring with McNamara. I think they put up 20. I don't think they stop Penn State. Iowa at home is a whole different animal than Iowa on the road. Iowa on the road is not this shut down. We're only going to get 10 points here. This line is too low. I like this game over. Yes, on Iowa over. But Penn State's very strong. It'll be a whiteout. It's a 7:30 game. Let's see. We got a few more. All right. I have to quickly email Alex so we can get let's play 11 team teaser. My lucky number. All right, Alex. Here we go. Bear with me. I need about 30 seconds. Let's see. One, two, three, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Okay, there's 11. I didn't give you any pros, but if you want, I can. Well, the lock over is, or not the lock, the free pick is the Miami game over with San Diego. So if you want to cap it with the NFL games, take the Miami over. And then if we win everything, we can trap it because that's tomorrow. So we can see all the wins. We got one game left. You're getting all these huge odds. You can trap it if you want. So I'll leave that to you. And I just sent it. That's 200. Okay, I'm getting my summary of what I bet. So I got a guy I bet with. He makes the bets. I get 20%. Last year I cashed every week but twice, and this year we're 1-1. So I gotta get him a winner. Okay, back to the spreads. All right. Is Cam Rising playing? I would say no. We'll take a look at that in a minute. Based on the point spread, he's not, because they're down to 3. Which, why would they be down to 3? If he's playing, it would go up to 6 or 7. So play that game as an under. Pitt, North Carolina. North Carolina 7.5. There's so many games. Hasn't moved. It was 7. 7.5. 50 is the same. North Carolina, I worry about. Pitt is kind of weak this year. Lost to Cincinnati. Lost to West Virginia. Don't know. I would not touch North Carolina as a road favorite at Pitt at all. Maybe an under game. Pitt, strong defense, no offense. James Madison, Utah State. James Madison, I told you I hit last year. Okay, this one, they went down to 4.5 from 7 in 52. So there must be an injury on James Madison. Let's see if it says something. James Madison injury. Not really. Nothing that would lower the line. So I don't know what's going on here. I would avoid it. I did like James Madison at first, but I will avoid that with the line going down. Something's wrong. Kansas State, 4.5, 52.5. This line is down from 7 and 54. So the money, somebody must be injured on Kansas State. Let's see if it tells us. K-State injury. No injuries. So I don't know why. I know Plumlee, the quarterback at UCF, is out. So their backup, who's not terrible. Again, this is a Big 12 Southwest Conference game. UCF is now in the Big 12 with Kansas State. Kansas State at home, usually this should win. I think Kansas State's good. I don't know why the line's going down, but I'm not seeing an injury. I don't have it listed. After the loss, I think Kansas State is a good play here. UNLV, UTEP, games even and 50. It's moved from 48. UNLV is an over team. UTEP is under. I have no idea. It's an even game, so I can't tease it because I can't get over. I need points, so I'm going to lay that. USC, 38, 34.5, 62. Really hasn't moved. I like USC. 3 of Arizona State's quarterbacks are out. Their first guy's out. The second guy is doubtful. The third guy is doubtful or out. They're on their 4th string quarterback. How many points do you think they're going to get on USC? 0. USC does their thing. They light it up. You can't go over on the game because it's all USC. And if USC is going to put up 65 points, just lay the 35. So I like USC here just straight up. Washington, 20.5, 57.5. This is way down. This is 62 down to 57. Now, Cal has this really good running back, Ott, as I mentioned before. And I'm wondering if he's out. Well, no injuries. Yeah, this thing's worthless. Washington State, nothing. We'll have to look on covered, but we don't know there. So Washington at home's gold. California does not have a good quarterback. They have the real good running back. So we'll have to see. But I think Washington kills them here. Too much. They're too good at home. Fresno State, 27.5. 47.5 down from 50. Kent is a Z team. Fresno's an A. I like Fresno here. And last but not least, Hawaii, 55.5 to New Mexico State, down from 58. I'll have to check that one. That's the midnight game. I like the over here unless Pavia is out. Hawaii can't stop the win. New Mexico State can't stop the win. 55.5. This is a good over there. I don't know what that means. So that's it. So your free picks are Notre Dame, Ohio State over, and Georgia under. And That's a very strong free pick. Keep that in mind. It's not your normal one. Okay. I went through every game, Sean. What's your problem? She's asking me at 11:42. She had all week to ask me, so I just did it to Alex. So I assume Alex got it. So is that what you're coming on? I should give it to her. Okay, G. I'll give it to you now. But I got 18 minutes, so I want to cover everything here. All right, G. I'm sending it to you now. So I'm sending it to you, G. Send me a picture back of what the card is, what the bet is, so I know what we've done and how much. That's critical that you send me that back. Otherwise, I will not do this with people that don't confirm with the picture of here's the bet. I bet so much to win so much. So that's critical. Okay. All right. So I think Prime can cover today, Professor. Okay, G. Send it back the receipt and we'll be all set. I don't know if I played any noon games. I don't know when the noon games are anymore. Bobby, the way I played that game, I played it over. I think, okay, we saw against TCU was an 80-point game, right? Okay, but we don't know Prime. And TCU, we know is explosive. Then we see him against Nebraska, and they look okay, but Nebraska's got no offense. Then we see him against Colorado State, who got beat 63-7 to USC, and they play him a 43-35 game. So now we realize that Colorado's got no defense. And here comes Oregon, who at home just beat at Texas Tech 38-31 with Texas Tech. So they don't have much defense. So I'm looking for at least 50 points from Oregon. Prime, let's say he gets you 20, is 70. I think that's a certainty versus trying to figure out if Colorado plus 27 is gonna be able to hang in there. Oregon at home, it's very noisy. Their defense, they'll get more sacks. Can Prime Jr., he struggled with Nebraska, right? And Oregon seeing this. And Oregon puts the pressure on. So I don't know how strong Oregon's defense is. I got them as an A team. And again, all I have is the Texas Tech game, but it was at Texas Tech. They win 38-31, 69. So I think this is an over because Oregon 50 and Colorado. Okay, so you're thinking they'll get 35 and cover. But again, when I look at the whole picture, the best bet to play here is the over. Just like Utah UCLA. The best way to play the game is under. We assume Rising's out, so let me go in. Well, yeah, but be careful with USC. Arizona State's 3 quarterbacks are out. So you're not going to get any points from Arizona State. That means you got to get 62 from USC. And if you're going to do that and you're not going to get any from Arizona, play USC because the line's only 35. So all you need is 29. All they got to do is win by 29. So they're going to get 50. They'll beat them 50-0. They won't cover the over, but they'll cover the game. All right, let's go and answer the Cam Rising question if I can. He's not on the injury list, so is Cam Rising playing against UCLA? Utah Star will not start against UCLA. That's what I see. ESPN 3 hours ago. Cam Rising injury update. Utah quarterback status for game versus UCLA 1 day ago. Utah quarterback Cam Rising possible status against you changes in peculiar fashion. He won't start in the game. What does that mean? Either he can play, then he should start, or he can't play and he shouldn't, he's not. If he's able to start, he should start. If he's not playing, it tells me he's still injured. However, if we're losing, we can't afford to lose to UCLA. They're in our division in the conference now. They could afford to lose to Florida. And probably if they needed him at the end, he'd have came in. However, with that, I still think it's an under because, at what the other quarterbacks think. So in my mind, I'm seeing this still as an under. I still don't see him, I don't know. It's a 3:30 game. Who's playing quarterback for Utah? Chip Kelly and UCLA want to know. Ain't going to be Cam Rising. Then we got 2 days ago, Utah quarterback Cam Rising, possible status against UCLA. See, again, the key to it is strictly that the line went down to 3. And Vegas would know this information. If he's playing, it would be 7. It wouldn't have went down to 3. It would go up to 5 or so. It was like 4.5 to 5.5. Now it's down to 3. We've already seen this against Florida. He ain't playing. Well, keep in mind the USC over is not. You need the other team to help you. USC UCLA is an overlock. USC Oregon, USC Florida. Those are automatic lockovers. USC Utah, we need Rising. Against Arizona, it's a lock. Against Arizona State, they got their top 3 quarterbacks out. So therefore, it's gone. You're not going to get points from Arizona State, but USC is still going to score their 50 points. So you just play USC. There you go. Now, Bobby, for you, I've got Egon, and we're going to watch the whole Egon. Anything else in football?
Ladies and gentlemen, we are back with our monthly Matterhorn.
This is 19 minutes. This is gold. Bobby, you'll feel much better after watching this. I mean, basically, everything's collapsing. And Egon's like, I don't look at the price. The China gold exchange is $150 premium difference. And it's all blowing up. And the debt is the killer. But I want to wait and make sure we've got football covered. Well, Sean, I don't know what to tell you. I do the video every day. So let's not wait till noon to ask questions. I've covered all this Friday, Thursday, and then Friday was the NFL. So watch that one if you want NFL questions. And I started like 10:15. My computer took a while to get on here. But anyway, and there's games after 12. I mean, there's 3:30, there's night games. So UCLA is 3:30. Anyway, so we went through the lines. There's a few, most of the ones stayed. There's a few different ones. And that's about it. So good luck today. I think Ole Miss can do it. I think they can beat Alabama. Now that Texas did, I'm telling you, Alabama's in trouble. They got Ole Miss, they'll be lucky to beat. A&M, they'll be lucky to beat. LSU, they will not win. And that's 4 losses. And Alabama is not, they're not staying with the time. Sean is mad and might go call his buddy Al Pacino or Earl Anthony. Yeah, he might call El Pinocchio. Prophet, hey Prophet, I'd like your opinion on 2 early games if you got a minute. Okay, Michigan Rutgers, I like the under. Florida State Clemson, I wouldn't touch with a 10-foot pole. I like Florida State as the dog in the game. Maybe you tease it up to 4.5. Clemson, I don't know. They've looked pretty bad. Duke really killed them. I will not bet against Florida State here. I don't like it's in Clemson and they're a home dog. So, I mean, there's so many better games to play than that one. You know, that's my point on that. Michigan Rutgers probably should be an under. Michigan plays low scoring. Rutgers, very good defense and runs the ball. This game will be probably in the 30s. By the way, did you have an omelet today? Not yet, Bobby. Yeah, General tonight. The problem, though, I start at 10. I can't eat, so I'm not going to make an omelet at, I don't think I woke up till 9:30. I was up late studying the quarterbacks. And so I just had a banana. I'm going to have my avocado very shortly. And General Chow later after swim. But I don't think, I do want an omelet. I'll probably make an omelet. I'll probably make one. Okay, we're going to do Egon right now. Michigan has the best defense in D1. No, Georgia's got the best defense. Georgia at least played South Carolina, right? Michigan didn't play anybody yet. They played very weak teams, and I don't know if they allowed 5 points. So you must factor in who they're playing against. I still go with Georgia's got the best, then Iowa State has got to be up there, and we'll see how good Washington State and Oregon's defense is later on. I think there was a surprise team with a strong defense. Minnesota's got a very strong defense. in the Big Ten. Illinois doesn't have one this year like they did. The Big Ten has a lot of good defensive teams, and Iowa and Penn State. It's funny, I'm picking that game over because it's too low. It's 38. Iowa scores 20 a game, and Penn State's for sure going to get over 20. Iowa, they don't play on the road like they do at home, and it's not going to be this low-scoring under game that you think. Penn State, it's a whiteout. Will put up points on Iowa, I guarantee it. All right. So good luck on your games today. Now we're switching quickly to Egon, the Eagle. It's 18 minutes. We'll cut it into 2 9s. It's short enough, but I think something like this, we want to see the whole thing. I think it's very valuable to do that. So here we go.
And today it's really a harsh fight against the technology. Egon, I'm glad to see you after 2 months, and it seems you are back in the Swiss Alps. How are you?
Yes, I had to check that the battery was still there, and yeah, I'm very well, thank you. I'm better than the world economy, which is not difficult for anyone, and I feel good about life and about what we're going to discuss today, which will hopefully be useful for our audience.
I think so, and glad to hear that. What are we talking about today, Egon? The markets, bonds and banks, precious metals. And then there is a very interesting observation from China. Means the premiums on gold are there really skyrocketing. Maybe a message for what has to come to the USA. Now let's begin with a message of Jamie Dimon, the JP Morgan Chase boss. Diamond, I know. Diamond. What did he say? He said, I wouldn't be a big buyer of a bank. The head of the largest lender quipped during a financial conference on Monday. To say the consumer is strong today, meaning you are going to have a booming environment for years, is a huge mistake, he said. I think there's a false sense of security that those who think will end up being okay. I don't know, he said. I think, Egon, that is admitting the obvious, and it seems Dimon is even now cautious that something, as we know it already, is brewing in the banking system and the consumer.
Well, yeah, we must remember that obviously he's been very successful in running JP Morgan for a long time now, and stayed at the top of the banking system. And obviously, any US bank who is in that position also totally controls the Fed, because they tell the Fed what to do, not the other way around.
They own the Fed.
And as you remember, in 2008, JP Morgan was bankrupt, and so were many other US banks, and they were saved by the Fed because they were told by the bankers that they didn't save them, then that would be the end of the banking system. Now, we must also remember that JP Morgan has about 70 trillion of derivatives. That is just a massive position. Of course, they say the risk is much smaller, which it is, but the problem is that if counterparty fails, then the gross risk can remain gross risk. So he's clearly worried because they survived 2008 with all the other banks also, almost all the other banks, but I don't think they're going to survive another time. And remember that since 2008, debt in the US and around the world has gone up 3 times. And that means that risk has gone up exponentially. So we're talking about a banking system now that can't afford the problems that they are actually getting into now. And therefore, he clearly declares his hand. He knows there will be problems.
And there are huge problems. The banks are also losing.
So what they're saying is Jamie Dimon knows the end is near. This massive depression's about to hit. The banks are going to get fucked because everybody that owes them money is not going to be able to pay them. So that's what he's saying. Jamie Dimon's scared, and he's got all this money in derivatives. out there that he's going to lose, and Jamie Dimon and Egon saying, but it's like 2008. You have all these mortgage-backed securities, but if the people can't pay their mortgage, you're fucked, which is exactly what happened. And the banks are a bunch of idiots, not realizing that people are going to struggle to pay their mortgages off. Now, JP Morgan's got all these derivatives out there, and they're going to be struggling to get paid. He says, well, it's 70 trillion or something, but, it's counterparty risk, which means there's the other side of it. But what Egon just said is, but what if the other side can't pay? Then you're really fucked. So that's what he's saying. So Jamie Dimon, now JP Morgan owns the Federal Reserve, and they run the Federal Reserve and they run the government. So they've been printing money, but they can't do it anymore because the debt's too high and the money's inflated and the game's over. That's really what's happening. All right, back to Egon.
Chunks of deposits, large sums. I used this recently in my top news program. Let's see. It says here, Egon, global banks suffer 1.555 trillion in deposit flight over 1 year. And in the article we read, not only the US affected, but also Europe with 950 billion in the past 12 months. Where is the money going? And they need the money. If it's leaving the banks, that brings them even more under pressure.
Yes, it's Jan. It's 1.5 trillion, not 1.55 trillion. Just to make it clear, it's such enormous figures anyway. They can't actually understand what they mean. Nevertheless, it's more than banks can afford, and that's the real problem. Because of course they are also, the banks are but depositors are taking the money out because they're not going to earn. And the banks have instruction to reduce the lending continuously because their balance sheets are too exposed. So this is a massive problem, and this is going to be an enormous sign of pressure for the banking system that we will see in coming months here. Because just as we saw in mid-March, that will come back. And they have these imbalances also between the assets and liabilities, and the fact that they're earning too little on their assets, on their bonds, because they've replaced them long term, whilst they're paying interest on their borrowing short term at much higher rates, and that's going to lead to massive problems in the banking system. It already does, of course.
That was a good keyword, Egon. The Fed itself is losing now a lot of money. An article will be in the box below. I quote, Federal Reserve losses breached the 100 billion mark, central bank data released on Thursday showed, and they are likely to go a lot higher before the red ink stops. That means the deposits from the banks at the Fed, they have to pay higher interest than they get from old bonds. But not only that, I think we are before the reinitiating quantitative easing, because let me show you and our audience another hammer, a real hammer. This one here, 7.6 trillion of public held US government debt matures in the next 12 months. Egon, isn't that insanity? Close to a third of all public held outstanding US government debt is set to mature in the next 12 months, raising questions about where Treasury might go from there to finance the government's borrowing needs. Where, other than QE, should the money come from? I think they cannot place this in the market, and if they try, the interest or the yields would skyrocket.
Yes, that matures, and then of course, the deficit is continuing to increase, as we both know, and that there are. It will certainly be more than 2 trillion in the coming year, in my view, and. If you then extrapolate, because I did already, before Trump became president, I said, the debt was 20 trillion, and I said it'll be 40 trillion 8 years later. I said he was only president for 4, of course, but Biden is the second 4 years of this, and we are not going to be far from 40 trillion. We only need a few accidents, and we will be at 40 trillion by the time Biden's presidency expires. I don't think he'll be re-elected again, and he might even expire before, of course, because he's not having an easy time, sadly. But you just take 40 trillion and you take, let's say, 5% on that. That's 2 trillion just in deficit because of the interest rates. Just because of interest rate, 2 trillion, and so the deficits will go up exponentially. And if you add to that banking losses, which you pointed out now, what was happening in the banks, that will mean that the Fed will have to go in and print a lot more money than what is envisaged today. And therefore, we will see debt, and probably, I wouldn't be surprised to see 50 trillion in the next few years of U.S. federal debt. So
to recap, all this money is leaving the banks because nobody trusts the banks and they're not getting a good return. And the interest rates are going up, but the banks aren't giving it. So what does the banks have problems? Because they need the money. That's how a bank works. So if all the money gets pulled out, how do they got to get money to give you? So if Bobby pulls $30,000 out of his bank, where does the bank get the money? Because they've already invested Bobby's money. They don't keep your money. So with $7 trillion going, or no, was 1.5 trillion and has already left. Now we know where it should go, should be in the gold, but it's going into these treasury bonds or other, maybe real estate. I don't know, but it should go to gold. Again, they don't get it. Gold is the safe haven. It's the zero risk. It's going to go to the moon. That's the key. But the people pull the money out of the bank, the banks are all going to collapse. So that's why I tell you, get the fuck out of the banks. Be prepared for that. And off you go. And that's why there won't be a currency. It's blowing up. So basically, what is he saying? The debt's going to go to 50 trillion and they're going to have to print the interest. They're going to have to bail out the banks printing money. They're going to have to pay the debt printing money. We understand you can't. You print the money, it goes to zero. It's already at 1 cent, right? So we see what's going to happen. It's going to go out. You can't just keep printing and printing without an effect. You can't have a huge debt without an effect. That's what's happening. So that's what Egon's reiterating.
We're going towards a situation which cannot be resolved by any means. And that's why there will be real problems in the world economy in coming years, and and that will obviously, which I'm sure you will talk about, affect currencies and metals, etc. also.
Absolutely. And the 2 trillion that you just mentioned, I will put another article in the description box. Even Janet Yellen is expecting exactly this number of deficit. So it's up in an increasing pace. And let's come to China, the most interesting topic for today, because something very unusual is happening there. Let's see what John Reed wrote. The SGE 9999 premium has widened to even further overnight and is now above 6%. I've never seen moves like this, and I've been tracking the Shanghai Gold Exchange since it started. This is the gold price in Shanghai, I think from Thursday, and this is the US gold price. And we see here a gap developing. On Friday, this gap narrowed to 4.5%, but still a lot. And I found another video where the guy there was quoting an article on Bloomberg that is behind the paywall, unfortunately. So let's have a look at his video to show how that looks as a graphic. And here it is, Egon. Chinese gold hits record against the world. Premium to international prices topped $120 an ounce. And this chart goes back, it looks to 2002 or so. And this is absolutely unprecedented. Do you have a clue what happens there before I quote buy from China?
Yes, of course. We know what's happening. First of all, John Reed, of course, is the market strategist at the World Gold Council, so he sees a lot of these moves. And what we're seeing here now is a physical market with high demand that is not offset by the manipulated Western markets where there is just paper gold, or primarily not just, but primarily paper gold traded and not physical. And this is what we've been expecting for a long time, Jan. We know that the gold price is set totally in the paper market. That dwarfs the size of the physical market. And we know, and we've been talking about before, that once people ask for delivery, which is what they're doing in China, then there isn't enough physical gold around. Remember that there are 3,000 tons roughly produced annually, plus a bit of scrap of gold. And that's in today's market, which is a slow market with high demand. It's a good constant demand, but no panic demand and no excess demand. But all of that 3,000 tons plus the scrap gold, a bit over 1,000, is being absorbed by the market every year with the price staying at the highs, more or less. And therefore, when people who hold paper gold ask for delivery, there just won't be any physical gold. We know that. And the only way then that this physical demand can be satisfied, well, we are more or less at peak gold. And therefore, the only way it can be satisfied is, of course, by higher prices. People will got less gold for the same amount of money because they have to pay a lot more for it. And that's what we're going to see that in the next few years. We know that was going to come. We have been patient, Jan, for many years, and rightly so. But we know that supply cannot, and when supply cannot meet demand, which is what's going to happen in the physical market, then there will be a price squeeze, and that's an absolute certainty. When it comes, it doesn't matter. We're sitting here safely with our gold, and we just and ensure.
That's why I love watching Egon.
For that moment to happen. In the meantime, we don't worry about the price.
So this is what Luke keeps asking: when, and I keep saying it doesn't matter. He just said it as clear as exactly what we want, Bobby. It's going to go up. The paper market. Now he understands paper market. Do you ever hear Peter Schiff or Rick Rude or any of those idiots talk about the paper market? Andy White. This is why I tell you not to listen to them, to listen to Egon and Alligator. They get the paper market, not the physical. But the U.S. guys don't talk like that. I don't know why. They're just a bunch of idiots, and they just probably don't know. So what did you hear? All of a sudden, all the dollars are going to be printed. The dollar's going to zero. The demand for physical gold is huge, and they can't make anymore. The supply is short, right? So you got demand here and supply here, which means price has to go meet demand. That's what we've been talking about for the last 2 years. Yours went from 25 to 500. So yes, your percentage is higher, but what's your goal? So yeah, if you don't have a lot of money and you want to buy the $25 an ounce silver and it goes up to 500, are you going to be satisfied? Or are you going to be more satisfied buying $2,000 an ounce gold and it goes to 20,000? And eventually the dollar goes out and then you buy the house and the car with it. No, Egon's good. It's cool that we still get content from him. This just came in yesterday, Egon. I caught it. He does this monthly, so it just popped in. I haven't seen Luke because it's football. He's not interested in the fall, so I didn't see him. But I'll rerun this on Monday because clearly as soon as the noon came and everybody wanted to watch the football. Anyway, let's continue. There's 5 minutes left.
I think this is something that will happen in the USA also. Let me read what Bai wrote. He is a Chinese analyst. And he wrote also on Twitter, the Shanghai price is the real price of physical supply and demand, while the price of COMEX is the false price, because large numbers of naked shorts is false supply. So there is no
Now listen to this answer, Bobby.
between the two price systems. That is exactly what you just said, Egon. And an article Kitco also used this fact and wrote an interesting article. You find this in the box also. Quote from there: China is the biggest gold consumer on the planet. It is the biggest gold importer. It's the biggest gold refiner. It's the biggest jewelry market and one of the biggest investment market. Egon, thank you for today, for the September issue, and let's talk again next month.
So when I say 50,000 an ounce, I think like Egon. Egon sits there and he says, this is priced in COMEX, which is paper. And even the Shanghai is not priced properly. It's still feeding from the COMEX price. So he's saying once we get to the physical only price, it'll be a big change. The guy mentioned 10 grand, but that's where I get 50 grand. We got to get rid of this paper price, bring in the gold price. Once it shows 10, 20 grand, everybody leaves the Titanic, the panic starts, right? They go, oh, fuck, it really is good. They get out of their dollars, which collapses the economy, but then everybody goes into a gold economy. And then we're waiting, and that's what it is. I said the same thing about this fire insurance. I says, so the people in the dollars, so the house is on fire, and they switch from the bedroom into the kitchen. And they're like, well, it's not burning here. And you're like, yeah, but the house is burning down. Get out of the house, get off the Titanic, get into the gold boat. So Egon said it exactly the same way I say it. It's you've got to get the fuck out of the dollar. It's collapsing. The banks are all collapsing. We know all this. The gold price will go way up until it's in everything's priced in gold. So you want gold now at 2,000 an ounce. You don't want it when it's 10 or 20,000 an ounce. That's what the guy was saying. At 2,000 an ounce, you can afford it. At 10,000, you probably can't. At 10,000 an ounce, you'll be buying little tenth of an ounces and quarter of an ounces. So I bought that yesterday, Bobby. I went to the gold store and I bought another quarter ounce and a tenth of an ounce. Now, I got to be careful I'm not working. He had a half of an ounce. I bought the quarter ounce Maple Leaf, tenth of an ounce Maple Leaf like I did last week. The quarter ounce, it was $7.50 again, was $5.20, and the tenth of an ounce was $2.20. So it came out to $7.50. Now I could have got the quarter ounce Krugerrand, which is he had a half ounce Krugerrand for $1,000 and a quarter ounce Krugerrand for $500, which I could have bought, but I have a lot of Krugerrand ounces. I got a lot of Maple Leaf ounces too, so I didn't know what to buy, so I got the Maple Leafs. So now I'm a tenth of an ounce short of my even number. So I think I'll run back today and get the tenth of an ounce while he has it at $220, or get the Krugerrand, whatever. And it's funny, he doesn't know what he's doing anymore. They're not charging, they're charging whatever the ounce is, dividing it by 4 for the Krugerrand. So it was like $19.98 for the ounce of Krugerrand, and he just divided it by 4 and said, oh, that's $500 for the quarter ounce. And the tenth of an ounce is $200. I mean, it was like very weird that, because normally you don't. Normally it's not quite. Now the U.S. ones, he is. And I looked at the guy in the eye and I go, is there any reason not to buy the Krugerrand and the Maple Leaf over the Eagle? And he says, no, an ounce of gold's an ounce of gold. Which I say, and in my mind, that what do I need $1? At the end of the day, it's 10,000 an ounce. I assume I'm getting 10,000 for any ounce I have. So I don't know, but that's what I got yesterday. I got to go back and get another tenth of an ounce. So I can be I'll be right at 55. I'm at 54.90. I got two quarters and 4 tenths. I wasn't going to buy any more tenths, but it makes sense. I was really going in to buy silver, but I got so much silver and I want to buy more gold, and they're so cheap right now. And I know what's going to happen. See, that's the key. We know what's going to happen. We know it's going to go to the moon. So now I'm buying more gold than the silver. There should be no doubt in your minds what's going to happen. Egon just confirmed everything I tell you. I only tell you what I know. I do not made off you. There's no reason. I don't sell the gold and the silver. I'm not a salesman trying to give you stories so you buy from me. I'm not Peter Schiff, and I'm not Andy Wexler, whatever his name is. So there's no reason. I'm not trying to pump gold to sell it. I'm trying to pump gold to protect you. So with that said, that's where we're at. So that was Egon. So it was he's very clear cut. He speaks in English. Mark McGuire gets off. I don't know what he's saying. He's with the silos and the casino and like, what are you saying, Mark? I mean, I got an idea what he's saying, but he's very hard to follow. He can't explain it the way me and Egon do. So after hearing Mark McGuire and I played it, I'd rather play Egon over Mark McGuire. Alligator, I think I played a few days ago. I found, but it's the same thing. The guy from Russia is going to do that, and Mark McGuire is the same thing. But again, Egon really hammers it home like I do, where it's the gold price is in the paper price, which is massive, but that's not the true supply. Which is what I keep saying to get $50,000 an ounce gold. It's very limited, and the paper muffles it, and they're keeping the price down. So when you see the price of, like Luke does, when he sees the price of gold go down, he gets all like, oh my God, there's no demand. It is not that there's no demand. It's keeping the price down to keep the competition away. So you stay in dollars or you stay in stocks. Again, Wall Street makes money on stocks and bonds or real estate trust, but it's all paper. It's all this, right? So everything's in this. This is you're always on the Titanic, or the house is on fire and you're in a different room, but the house is still on fire. So that's exactly the game that the banks play and Wall Street play and JP Morgan, is to keep you in the house that's burning down, or the Titanic that's sinking. But they want you in there. Now, what he said is JP Morgan was broke in 2008, like all the others. But the Fed bails them out because they're owned by JP Morgan. So the Fed, of course, printed money and bailed them out. You can't do that this time, because the money they need for the debt, and the more money you just print out of thin air, the less value it's worth. You can't just printing money out of thin air is not the answer. You can't raise interest rates to kill inflation, and you can't print money out of thin air is causing more inflation, because that's what the inflation is, printing the money. The more you print, the less it's worth. So that's why you must have the gold standard. That's why all these countries are going broke, because they're all on dollars. They all have this huge debt. It's all the same. Nobody can bail them out, because you can't just print the money. But what does Putin understand? He understands gold, and so does China. So what are they doing? They understand the gold, and they go, you can't go broke with gold. So they've got most of it, right? Russia's probably at 35,000 tons, and China's about 60. That's 100,000 of the 200,000 tons they have. The other central banks are buying it. Well, why would they buy it? Because they know that paper is worthless. So they're trying to do the same thing that we're trying to do. I go to the gold store yesterday. I buy another half, and another quarter, and another tenth. I'm buying more gold, more. Anything I can afford, I'm buying more gold. That's the point. So you're buying it because you know that's the safety. I got to get out of dollars, because holding dollars goes to zero. What's the point? So the only way you can survive is to go to the gold, because it won't go to zero. It's never gone to zero. It never will. It's because there's high demand. And as we can explain markets, and I'll use my Canadian club again, I can only sell this if there's a market and a demand for it. So if somebody's going to buy it, then I can sell it. depending how many I have and how many people want it, is the price. And they tell me the price because I put it on the shelf. If I put it for $50 and it walks off the shelf and I be bought or sold, I know I can go to $60 until they don't buy all the bottles, right? So I can keep raising the price. But the fact that the people are willing to buy it makes them a market, and then I can sell it. Well, with gold, there's always a market because you can't rely on the dollars because the dollars are fantasy. It's just paper and it's just printed out of thin air. It doesn't make any sense. It's a medium of exchange, so I can go to the grocery store and the restaurants and buy clothes. Even when I'm using my debit card, I'm using dollars because if I don't have dollars in my bank, I can't use my debit and credit card. It'll say, oh, nope, no money in the account. So it's always dollars. Just the fact you pull out a debit card, don't think it's not using dollars. Same thing with a credit card. They give you a limit and they say, okay, you can spend $20,000 and you go book a flight in a hotel, you use your credit card, but you got to pay that back and you got to pay it back with dollars. So if they think the answer is CBDCs, they're out of their fucking minds unless they're backed by gold, but they don't have any gold to back it with. So therefore it's not. The Fed doesn't buy any gold. They're a bunch of fucking idiots. They're all Keynesians, and Keynesians don't believe in gold, but Keynesians are wrong. But, all I can say is they're wrong. But if they think they're right, we'll see at the end who wins. And we know we're going to win because we know gold will win. So that's really what the whole thing is. So just keep buying gold. And like he says, don't worry about the COMEX price. That's paper price. We don't worry about it because we got physical. That's why I tell you, do not buy ETFs. Do not buy stocks. Buy the fucking physical gold. Buy the silver if you can't afford it. Buy one of the two. The gold's better. Even if you bought, as I said, I bought a tenth of an ounce for $221 yesterday. A quarter ounce I bought for $500. So, you've got to be able to find the money to buy it. You've got to buy it. A, it's protection. B, as we've said, it's going to go up once the physical market takes over from the paper market, and the demand for physical is huge and the supply for physical is small. So we kill the paper market, we get to the physical market, and the physical market is not anywhere near what it's going to be. So you're going to save yourself because you're out of the dollar, and then you're going to get the kick of the high price, which is what Egon said, which I've been saying for 2 years. I've been saying it more for like 20 years, but I haven't gone on YouTube with this until the last 2 years. That's where we're headed. You've got to get out of the stock market because it's not real. That's being kept up by people buying like Amazon, and the value is nowhere near what it should be. And then you add to that really as the economy goes sour, nobody's going to, use Microsoft or Amazon, or who's going to buy a Tesla. So all those stocks, Tesla will go to zero. Amazon will drop a lot. Microsoft, I don't know. They sell Excel. Basically. And that's it. So it's really, as the economy goes down, the stocks will go down. And as soon as the foreigners start pulling their money out of U.S., right now it's in U.S. for safe stocks and houses and put the money in the bank. But once that all leaves, there's going to just be this huge drop foreign gold. So gold is it's the safest play, but it's also the smartest play. You have zero risk and you're going to get this huge return. So it's virtually the best play you can make. So we're an attack on Wall Street, and we're in the military, and we got $60,000 to invest. Then I'm not going to tell you to buy real estate trust or stocks or bonds or put your money in the bank. But I'm talking to the guy, it's go buy $60,000 in gold. And then you'll sit there and you'll never have to sell your house, and your wife will be fine, and this and that, and everything will be fine. But see, in their interest, it's to keep you in the Titanic. It's to keep you in paper. It's to keep you in stocks and bonds. That's how you'll get rich. because they get commission, and that's all they care about is the commission. All they want is the commission. So they don't give a fuck. They don't care if you make money or not. And if you do make money, they're going to say, well, okay, why don't you sell Microsoft and go into Amazon? Then I get more commission when you sell and commission. It's a Ponzi scheme. These guys are making Madoff look like a high school guy. Understand that. Just like the football, I tell you to understand the plays you make. I mean, some of the games you come up with, I'm like, well, who's the quarterback? You don't even know the quarterback. So you've got to understand, and you've got to be the one making the play. You can't listen to BetMGM and listen to these idiots talk about it, or the radio, and the guy says, I like, well, look at Herb Kirkstreet. Bobby says, you know what? He says Alabama's going to win it all this year. And what did I do? I laughed because I know. And I said, they don't have a quarterback. And they don't. And they already lost to Texas. Probably lose today to Old Mississippi. They got to play LSU. They got to play A&M. They're going to have 4, maybe 5 losses. Maybe Auburn beats them. Oops. Herb was wrong. Herb missed it. But Herb said they're going to win it all. They're not even going to be in they're not even going to, maybe they're bowl eligible. I don't know. But that's it. They're not a very strong team. So with that said, they've really got to go from there. It's just, you've got to know, right? So when I tell you to buy gold, I try to explain why. You should always have the explanation of why you do something. If it's dating a girl, playing poker, playing craps, betting football, whatever you're doing, buying gold, buying silver, you need to really understand it. So even with this, if I show the Egon video, now here we get it, right? We all get it. If I show it, if I go to the club and I show the communist, is he going to get it? I don't know. That's the problem. These guys, they go, who's Egon? Oh, we don't like him. See, when I tell the guys at the club to buy gold, they'll go, no, I got oil stocks. And I'm going, but their oil stocks will be worthless. And gold's going to go to the moon and you have no risk. But they're not smart enough to understand it. So in the fear of being wrong, they won't listen. I'll go today and I'll tell the lifeguards, did you buy your gold and silver? I can't afford it. Well, go buy silver. It's $25 an ounce. Don't tell me you can't afford it. You're working as a lifeguard. You probably are living at home, so you don't have rent. What the fuck you doing with your money? Go buy gold and silver with it. Like I said, I was dating this escort, and so I gave her a 1/4 ounce of gold, and then she'd get all this money and she'd go buy drugs, and you'd be like shaking your head and go buy gold. And then she wouldn't be working right now if she would have bought gold instead of the drugs. And they buy drugs and then they keep working, and I got to work. I need the money so I can get the drugs. I don't know why the pretty girls tend to be into the drugs. I can never understand that correlation. It doesn't make sense. Like, aren't you? It's like, I guess they're catered to the whole life because they're pretty and they don't see the need to learn and understand, and they just use their looks to get money, and they figure that's it until they get older and they don't have looks anymore. And the free market says, I like this young girl, I don't like you anymore. And then everybody leaves the girl that was hot. She got older, and there's other younger girls who again think that the key is to I need my looks because there's a market. Guys like my looks. They'll pay for my looks. I'll get the money, but then they don't go buy gold and silver with it. They don't see the end. So if they would have bought silver with their looks for the last 5 years, they'd be retired. They wouldn't need to work. They'd wait for Egon to go up, and off they go. But, like my friend, she's now working at a restaurant making nothing. And to use Bobby's terms, I just shake my head like, what the fuck are you doing? Anyway, it's kind of, if people would understand, but again, this isn't taught. Why isn't this taught? Why am I the only guy teaching this? Put it that way. Even if you watch Rick Rude, or you watch that Andy Weissman guy, or Peter Schiff, they don't teach it. They tell you to buy gold, but they can't teach you why. The whole thought of it should be it's a zero risk, huge reward, and it's not really an investment. You're getting off the sinking ship or the burning house. That's why you're doing it. And then by the way, it's going to go up 1,000% for you because the demand's so big and the supply is so small, and everybody thinks it's paper, but the paper will go away. They'll have to go to physical, and then that's when the price goes to the moon. And so you just got to be patient on that. As he said, he's known about it. I've known about it since 1994. When I got my master's, I knew exactly that government inflates and the way out's real assets. So we got baseball cards because that's what my ex got us into. But at the same time, I was still buying a little bit of gold. Not as much as I should have bought. I should have bought a ton of it. But then in the divorce, I would have lost half of it anyway. And this way I got all the baseball cards and I got the Montana cards. So it's poetic justice that the cards I got have value. Now, why aren't I selling them for gold? I don't like the Montana card. If it's a PSA 10 and it's either a 9 or a 10, it's great shape, a little off center, but I could get a 10. It's worth $100,000. It should hold its value. So all the shit happens and gold comes out. It'll be priced in gold and I can get it graded. I can't, it's still the asset. So as long as I have it, I don't need to sell it now for gold. I can sell it later for gold. It doesn't matter. And the price won't be 100,000 anymore. It'll be much higher because then it'll be priced in gold. So that's what you got to understand. All right. So we got football on now. I love, guys asked me earlier, don't ask me 10 minutes before, can I have, let's play a 11-team, 10-team teaser. Because this class is for the line movements that are happening today. Thursday's class and Friday's class were to look at it and go through that. So anyway, we think Rising is only going to play in an emergency. If UCLA's up 21-17 late in the fourth quarter, maybe Rising comes out and wins the game. But he's not playing the whole game. They're going to probably just keep an eye on it. So we got some interesting games. Colorado, Oregon. I don't see any way. I'll be shocked if Colorado wins the game. I do think it'll be high scoring because Oregon just puts up a ton of points. Then we got Alabama and Ole Miss. I think Ole Miss wins the game, but it should be a good game. We got Notre Dame, Ohio State. Should be a great game. Hopefully will be a high scoring game, higher scoring. We've got USC, Arizona State, where Arizona State's all three of their quarterbacks are injured. Should be a slaughter for USC. Should be. And that's it. So there's some good games. We had the Air Force yesterday, 45-20. They're a good team. San Jose State's a good offense. But see, so let's break that game down. Air Force is an A team. They score a lot, have a good defense. San Jose State, good quarterback Cabrero. They're an over team. This is why I don't bet over teams, because the better defense, Air Force, won the game. So let's see if this is true. Wisconsin has the good defense. Purdue's an over team. Wisconsin wins. NC State has the better defense. Virginia over team. NC State wins by 3. It's like a push. Air Force with the better defense wins. San Diego State with the better defense was a home dog, so they were good. They were getting 7. You had 13 with San Diego State. They lost 34-31. So in that sense, that one. And so that's what you look for. So Kentucky, Vanderbilt, Kentucky's got the defense. Vanderbilt doesn't. I would think Kentucky would win. But, of course, Kentucky's the better team, and they're laying 14. So what you're looking for is the game where you're the dog and you've got the under. Let's see where I see that. So let's say Sam Houston. Houston's a 12-point favorite with an over defense. Gave up a ton to Rice. Sam Houston is unbelievable. I mean, they lost to BYU 14-0, and they played a bunch of 10-point games. They're at like a 5, their totals. So that's the game that you could theoretically say, okay, Sam Houston, but they don't have an offense, but they have a good defense, and you get 18 points. That might be, a good play. I'm not playing it, but it could be. Let's see. Arizona, Stanford's the same way. Arizona, well, they're not the dog, but they got the better defense, but they're laying a lot. Let's see if we can find a dog. Oregon State, Washington State, they're both A teams. So you got the dog at home with a good defense, but Oregon State also has it. So we'll see about that. Anyway, you got the idea of it. Is the game. Let's see if we can go late game. All right, Fresno State and Kent. So Fresno, well, they're favored. But Fresno State is an A team, strong defense. Kent's a Z team with no defense. So you would think Fresno State would win big here. James Madison's an A team with a good defense. Utah State's got an over defense, so James Madison should win. No, it's not 100%. It's just the better defense tends, it's hard to move on the better defense. And that's the key to it. But if you have the good offense, the defense can stop the offense. But if it's a bad defense, even a weak offense can score on it. So probably more in the pros tomorrow. We'll talk about it. But anyway, there you go. So Notre Dame, Ohio State. I'm expecting at least a 50-point game, which is a winner. And Georgia, Auburn, I'm expecting Georgia with their giving up 5 points a game to keep the game under 60. Again, I like it because it's 54. And that's where you really want, why is any Georgia game over under in the 50s? It makes no sense because they never play high-scoring games. They'll win this game 35-0. So if it was 44, I probably wouldn't have locked it. But at 54, it's such a high number, I'd go to 60 on it. So that Georgia under 60 in this game, it's going to win 9 out of 10 times, so I like the bet. But the only case I think it's weird is the Iowa-Penn State game at 38. I think it's too low. I don't understand that number just because it's Iowa. Iowa's scoring points with McNamara. They're getting 20 points. Penn State's certainly going to get 20 on them, and so it should be at least a 40-point game. It's 38. You go over 32. It's way too low for a Penn State game at home. So anyway, so that's what you look for. Just like why do we buy gold? Because the Titanic's sinking, and this is the only way out. And like he said about being a gold bug, I'm not a gold bug either. I like gold because I think it's a good investment. I think it's protection. I do like gold. I collected baseball cards, not for the money. I just like getting a Joe Montana card, getting a Jerry Rice card, I just liked it for the players because I like the players. And then the kicker is, and it's going to go, they're all going up in value. And it's the same thing with gold. It's protection, really. I know they're printing the dollars to zero. It should have already been gone. But now they're printing so much money that it has no value. Anyway, any other questions, comments? So we're at 2.5 hours. I've been doing some 4-hour shows, which is exhausting to me, but I just, that's why I do it live. If you have some other comments, then bring them in and then we can talk about them. And as long as there's more comments and questions, I'll keep going. That's why I go long, but I really don't have a time limit. Mostly what I title, so we're going to talk football and we're going to talk economics, and that's usually the show. And usually I try to keep it where it's football together. Then I got into Egon and talked about that. So you can usually find it if you go through it. But I'll talk, like when I talked yesterday on the NFL, I went through every game. So the first thing, so if you want a game, it's pretty much in order. Then we talked a little bit economics. So I try to keep it like that. Anyway, have a good day. Good luck. I hope you guys make money. Let's get Notre Dame over in Georgia under free play. And we will be back tomorrow at 11. So I figured 2 hours. So I come on at 10 for the noon games today, and I'll come on at 11 for the 1 o'clock games. So have a good day. I got to buy 1/10 of an ounce of gold to get right at 55. Off to the pool. All right. I will talk to you later. Have a good day. Good luck. www.teaserking.com. If you want to buy, you can still buy. There's 3 locks going, and tomorrow you can buy the pros. I had some guy buy the whole package at 4 o'clock last Sunday. So we will see. But good luck to you, and I hope you make money, and then I hope you go buy gold with the money, and then you'll be taken care of, and you'll be happy you did. All right. Have a nice day. Thank you very much. Goodbye. www.teaserking.com.